In terms of Jamaica, I mean, clearly it's a massive opportunity. You talk about demographics and new audiences and attraction. You're playing in Leeds as well, which I know for you personally is massive, having grown up in the city. This is going to be your career highlight, isn't it?
Oh, without a doubt, without a doubt. It's it's something that sometimes I think you have to take a step back and have a look at and kind of be thankful for where you're at. I think probably all people in sport get to that level and don't necessarily always take the step back to kind of think about what they've achieved and where they're at. And yeah, it's massive, as you said, for it to be in Leeds. And you know what we did obviously last time when we played England, we got the biggest crowd the Knights have ever had in terms. I think it was 7.5, just short of 8,000 people. And again, 40-50% of that must have been a new audience and new people to the game. So you know we're very much hoping as a sport that we can leave a legacy. It's not just about us attending this one World Cup and doing really well. It's about leaving that legacy. It's about leaving that foot sort of path and showing people where the sport can take them. Obviously, you know, Jason's involved with us as well, and you know he speaks to us a lot about what rugby league and what rugby union is giving him and the opportunities that it's opened and the doors that it opens. And you know, for myself, exactly the same. You know, I've been to Russia, I've been to America, I've been all over playing rugby just because I play rugby. So you know, to be able to sell that to the community and like you said, the new demographic of people and show them that rugby league is a valid option and a valid way to sort of live your life and can give you some fantastic opportunities is really important to us. And you know, we spoke quite a lot in the Jamaica team as we feel there's a real shortage of players coming through, and we look back, I think a lot of the team is sort of mid sort of 20s to sort of early 30s. And it's disappointing. You know, obviously Chev is there working with me, and Chev and I grew up playing together. I think he was a year below me, but we're essentially playing in the same team, the same city team. And yeah, we talk about the number of players that came through the game at the same time as us, and the number of mixed race players that were coming through the game at the same time as us. And unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be happening anymore. And you know, I think there's got to be questions. I had lots of questions, and I was quite vocal, you know, towards the RFL about we've come up with this plan about how we're going to move forward and Black Lives Matters and what we're going to do. But there's not really, for me, been any questions as to why we've gone so far away from what we've gone. You know, myself, Chev, Ryan Bailey, Dwayne Barker, Danny Mills, Matthew Whitaker. There was loads of every team you looked at, Dale Cardozo, every team you looked at had lots and lots of mixed race players coming through at my age group. When I look through the sport now and I look at the academy systems coming through now, and it's, you know, there's a sprinkling across the 3 or 4 sort of teams at the top, and that's it. And I think that's really disappointing. It's really worrying to see. Leeds in particular, you know, they had an abundance of players, and unfortunately that stream of players is just not coming through anymore. There's no players from Chapeltown. There's not many players from, you know, the Hunslet area, and it's just really disappointing to see how we've had such a drop off in the last sort of 7, 8, 9 years. And I think the questions need to be asked of those people in charge as to why that's happened, rather than, you know, just trying to put something in place now to fix it. It's about why have we got to that point. You know, you can't really fix it until you know what went wrong in the first place. And I think, unfortunately, they're not the questions that are being asked. There's lots of tick box exercises going on that we're going to do this and we're going to do that and we're going to do this. But unfortunately, there's got to be some actions and there's got to be some responsibility taken for where we've got to in the first place.
And the other side of that coin, though, is that there is a responsibility on everybody who's involved in the Jamaican setup to make sure that's transferred back to the island as well. And we've seen Lebanon announced this week that they're definitely going to have 6 domestic players in their World Cup squad. Do you think you need to do something like that as well with the Reggae Warriors?
Yeah, to be honest, I mean, we've done that all the time, Phil. I mean, I think when we went to every competition I've been involved with Jamaica, we've done that. We've always had 4 or 5 of the island boys in. We've already set for the World Cup that we want to have 4 to 6 players in the team, in the squad, and there will always be a minimum of 2 players in the starting 17. So that's something we've kind of held ourselves to. I think if you look, you know, the England Knights game, we had Kamisi who started in the starting 17, and we had Jensen who was on the bench. When we went over to America and qualified, again, we took 5 players over there in that squad. And I think in the final game, I think 2 of them played. I think Ronaldo and Kamisi both played. And I think we had Marvin on the bench. So we had 3 of the 17 in that team. So it's something that, as you said, is important. You know, we're talking about that legacy. We're talking that ability to to want to get behind the team and support the team, it has to have players from the island in there. And, similar to myself, I think the plan is hopefully myself and Romeo that I'm going to get across to Jamaica this year, hopefully spend a week in Jamaica with the team and then spend a week in America with them for the American Championships before we go back into the World Cup. And, obviously, as you said, impart some of my knowledge and give some of my experience over there and hopefully help not just the players, but also the coaches that are over there as well.
What's Romeo like to work with? We had him on the show just after that night's game, an inspirational figure, and I imagine he's the same in the changing room as well.
Yeah, I think Romeo's more of an action person. He's not got massive words. As you all know, he's very calm. He's very relaxed. He doesn't really get stressed about anything. He's very laid back in how he approaches things. To his credit, he's brilliant when he comes over here. He gives me my head. Obviously, I take things on as a lead coach, and obviously he gets to make decisions, and we go back and forth about things. And some things we agree on, some things we disagree on. But I think the nice thing about Romeo is it's always a conversation. It's never an argument. It's never something that turns into a shouting, slagging match. It's difficult to do that with someone who's so calm and relaxed. And yeah, I think his inspiration comes from the time that he's been within the organisation and how far the organisation has come forward, and the relentless number of hours that he puts in for very, very little in return, is inspirational. I think there's not one person within the organisation that can question his commitment, his determination, his desire for us to be successful. And whether that's, I think he would be the first person to say that if a team and the organisation can be more successful than him, he would quite happily take a step aside if that was something that we all agreed with. But I don't think there's one person at the moment that would say that he doesn't need to be involved and he doesn't need to be leading it.
Looking at the group that you're in, there is a possibility you can make the quarterfinals. I'm sure that's the very least target you will have set yourselves. Give us the exclusive that you're going to be playing in it.
I think I've well gone past that now. No, I'd love to play it. It'd be amazing. Obviously, my two younger brothers have played in the last sort of couple of competitions that we played in when we went to America. Obviously, Jamel and Keenan played quite sort of prominent roles, and then obviously in the England Knights game, Keenan and Jamel both played again. I was fortunate enough when we played France. I think it's 2017. I got to play and represent Jamaica and play with them too, which was it was an amazing feeling, and probably one that's only going to be topped, as you said, by coaching at the World Cup. So yeah, I would love to play, but yeah, I think unfortunately, the World Cup probably came 4 or 5 knee operations too late for me.
What sort of warm-up games do you need, and what do you hope to have? I know every country's looking at a potential schedule. Possibly now you won't get a mid-season international because of the way the domestic season is going to have to be structured. But there is a window for you to maybe play at least 1, possibly 2 games before the tournament starts. So have you got some opposition in mind?
Yeah, well, as you said, I think, to be honest with you, I think we're fairly lucky. I think we're in a position where we obviously played the England Knights just a couple of years ago, so we got that fixture in. And I think if you look at most of the other international teams, they probably didn't play since the year before that. So in that respect, we're one up on them, and we got a little bit of time together within a group. We're really disappointed about the mid-season stuff. We had some really important things planned for mid-season, and we were going to hope to have sort of 2 tests, one with the Jamaican A team and one with sort of the first squad, so to speak, and give 30, 40 players an opportunity to put their hand up for the World Cup and put their hand up for a jersey and a place in that squad. We were then looking at having, again, as you said, another fixture just prior to the World Cup. But again, I don't know whether that's going to happen now or not. Obviously, things change. But that's something that Romeo and Alex are looking at. Myself and Chev and Ian Kirk, obviously, does all our strength conditioning. We will look at a program based on a best case scenario and a worst case scenario. So, hopefully we can get that game in, and there's no better substitute than playing a game against somebody and doing that. But if not, then we'll certainly get some sessions in where we're having some opposed sessions against, as I said, if we're based in Leeds, maybe it's against Hunslet, maybe it's against some of the Rhinos team or someone. We'll get something in there, and we'll make sure that we're prepared. But I think when you're talking about the group, yes, qualification is a target, and I'm sure it is for every other team in that group. I think I don't think we'll be the only ones that are looking at the route going, oh well, actually we've got an opportunity to possibly beat that team and possibly beat that team and put in a good performance against that team. And I think the 2 games against Ireland and Lebanon are going to be massive for both Ireland and Lebanon and ourselves. So everyone will be looking at trying to take points off each other there and then see how they go against New Zealand. I think the Irish team will be interesting. I think a lot of our players will know each other. A lot of their players will know our players and probably play against each other. So that might just come down to a little bit of a battle of wills and who gets it on the day. The Lebanon team, will be very interesting. It will be dependent on very much what NRL stars they can kind of coax into playing for them and what NRL stars they can't coax into playing for them. I think if they're all of a sudden able to get a Mitchell Moses that sort of falls back on their toes, then obviously they're going to be in a position where they're pretty thankful for that. But if he's playing fantastically well, then hopefully the green and gold might decide to pick him up and they'll lose out on him. So yeah, I think that's probably the team that at the moment there's a little bit uncertainty about what they're going to bring in terms of their ability. But yeah, I think the Irish team, I think we will all know each other. We will know how they play. Obviously, Tubbs and Jed are in there and Stuart Littler's involved. So I would have coached against them quite a bit, and Chev will obviously know all of them players as well. So yeah, I think that one's going to be nice. It's going to be a nice environment to be in. Jed and I played in the academy at Halifax, so it will be nice for us to kind of have a drink after and sit back and go, wow, we're both coaching in a World Cup. So yeah, that'll be a nice time.
More importantly for me, I just wish you all the luck in the world with Jamaica. I know that the Skolars is the bread and butter, and we have to look after that. And you made some fantastic points about shoring up the pathway system, but the potential that Jamaica has got for establishing rugby league within the community, whether that be in Leeds or Birmingham or down in Haringey itself, this is something that rugby league has never had before. So I wish you all the luck in the world with that.
Thank you very much, and I think we're hoping to do, as I said, exactly the same thing. We're not Tonga. We're not going to have the thousands and thousands of people that they did, but we want to come to the World Cup and bring exactly that. We want to bring some colour to the World Cup. We want to bring, some excitement to the World Cup, some fun to the World Cup. And again, I hark back to the England Knights game. We had obviously the steel pans in the crowd playing, and the atmosphere was fantastic. And that's an atmosphere I haven't experienced before myself, although the crowd wasn't as big as maybe some of the crowds that we've been involved with before. The atmosphere and the pride and the sort of sense of belonging to the people that were there was massive for everyone in the group. And I would happily say that I don't think there'd be another experience that any of us within that sort of match day squad or within that squad had experienced that before. And that group, as you said, it's unbelievable being part of that team. There's something about it, and if I could bottle it up and get it into, like you say, the bread and butter of a Skolars team, they'd be unstoppable. But the belief and the desire and the commitment and the sort of willingness to do anything for the badge is unbelievable. And it's not something I've experienced. And I'm sure it's exactly the same in any other national team. But if you could turn that into a general day team, would be unbelievable. And hopefully, if Skolars give me a little bit more money, I can go sign a few more Jamaica players, and we'll have them as my domestic team.